Uh, do I clap it in? Welcome back to another episode. I just tripped over my words. Welcome back to another episode here on Hacks and Hobbies. And today I have the pleasure to inviting my great friend, Bob Baker. Bob, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast.
It's my pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
And so we've been in different communities for the past few years, being podcasters and, speaking on different events. It's finally, I'm glad that we're finally able to make the time to have this conversation.
Absolutely. I'm eager to dig in, see where this goes.
All right. So, as you know, on Hacks and Hobbies, I love to dig into the journeys, origin stories, and understand what inspires us to get to where we are today. Now, the fun part is the journey is an ongoing thing, and this is just a moment in time to where we started and how we got here. So, Bob, take it away. Talk to us about going back in time,
Yeah.
take
Be
a
happy
walk
to
down memory lane, right?
walk down memory lane. It's funny you use the term origin story. I usually think of that as like when you're looking at like a planetary thing or something like biological, but I'll apply it to my life. So I am currently 63 years old. I was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri, where I still live to this day. And early on, I had an attraction to the arts, music and the written word in particular. Because back then, when I was a kid, I was not very good at sports and athletics. Kind of got picked on and was socially awkward, lacked a lot of confidence, like a lot of kids do. But it was kind of an extreme version of that. So I was drawn to things that I could control, I could do on my own. I was raised by a single mom, no siblings, and so I was gravitated toward music. Started playing the guitar. Started just writing on my own outside of schoolwork. And and then over the years since then, I mean, my teens, my 20s and 30s, I went a little crazy with things in the arts, and I ended up playing in bands in high school and played in rock bands for a many number of years, and still to this day, music is a part-time passion of mine. My wife Pookie Lee and we write and record and perform original songs, and it's on a part-time basis, but we continue to crank stuff out there. Then over the years, I did theater, I did stand-up comedy, I did improv comedy. Actually, that's a long-standing passion that I have. I even to this day, I teach and perform improv on a part-time basis. But then there was this period when in my 20s, late 20s, where I took this passion I had for music and the written word, I combined it, and I started publishing a newspaper that covered the local music scene in my hometown of St. Louis. And I ended up doing that for 10 years.
It's amazing.
And that kind of led me to publishing books, because I had access to all these people these musicians and people that I was interviewing with my newspaper, and I was always asking them for, kind of picking their brains about how did you build an audience, how did you get people to show up to your shows and sell so many albums, and they ended up being in columns in my own newspaper. Those columns became chapters in some of my books, and some of my earliest books were on music marketing. Starting 30 years ago, my first books were published. And I published actually 16 physical books, paperback books, and other electronic resources as well over the past 30 years. And They started off with music marketing, then widened out to once I had success as an author selling books online. Because I embraced the internet really early on, dating back to the 90s. And pretty much have and I continue to this day to embrace it, and use all these amazing tools that we have to reach an audience. And so I had books on how to promote and sell books on the internet, books for creative people. And then several years ago, I started posting, using my voice to post affirmations and guided meditations on my YouTube channel. And that is the primary thing that I do now. The channel has exploded to I've got over 367,000 subscribers,
Nice.
1 million views a month. And so I'm kind of in the inspiration business, you might say. My whole life, I've actually been kind of inspiring people to live their best lives and to share
Yeah.
their gifts. And I started off doing that with just musicians and then creative people in general. And now a more general audience, just inspiring people to focus on positivity and be their and live their life as their authentic selves, I guess. So I don't know if that's a quick overview.
That's a really condensed version of your origin story. I mean, thank you so much for sharing. I mean, there's so much wisdom in there and what you led to and what inspired you to go in that direction, right? Because as you're hanging out with these musicians, as you're hanging out with these artists, the one thing that's common thread in all of that is positivity.
Yeah.
Because if you're not positive, guess what you're doing? Nothing.
Right. Yeah. I learned early on. A friend of mine in high school, like junior year of high school, I was going through a rough time, and this friend of mine said, "Hey, I know you. I see you're struggling." I said, Here's a book that helped me," and it was a book by Wayne Dyer. His first
Mm,
like popular book. It was called "Your Erroneous Zones." We're talking like in the '70s, and that opened my eyes to like, oh wow, there's a whole way of thinking here. I just thought I was a victim of my thoughts and a victim of my insecurities was just who I am, but no, it's not. I actually can control my thoughts, which then control my feelings, which then influence the actions that I take, and then eventually the results that I get in the world. And so that started me on like a personal development journey, and I just try to share that positivity with others as I go
no,
along.
that's
You know,
it's really powerful. This is the first time that I've heard of your erroneous zones because I had not heard of this book, so I am definitely going to go,
yeah,
check it out because negative mindset is pushed by the marketing agencies, by the entire government because they want to control all that you are. And so
right,
having that positive mindset enables us to take control of our own lives. And absolutely, it's been a sticking point for myself as well as I discovered Tony Robbins back in 2000s. It was like 2003. I was watching this infomercial. I'm like at 3 a.m. in the morning, and I'm watching this guy just going all like we all know Tony Robbins and his
yeah,
style of
great,
speaking, and he's like all enthusiastic. I'm like, holy smokes! Like, can I bottle this up?
right.
How do you get that? And
I
that was the beginning of my journey into
Oh wow.
20.
I discovered Tony Robbins more like around 1990, I think. That's
Mm-hmm.
because I think he's around my age, if I'm not mistaken, by
Yeah,
one or
he's
two years.
somewhere
Early
there.
60s, yeah. And so yeah, there's a lot of people that influenced me. Earl Nightingale, Tony Robbins, even the old classic motivational speakers like Zig Ziglar, And so I just kind of absorbed it all and tried to incorporate it. And the reason that marketers, because I teach marketing, I still to
Uh-huh.
this day teach more for creative folks, but and the reason that they use that fear is because it's part of who we are as human beings. We're kind
It's
of
true.
wired to look for the threats in our environments because that's how our species survive, was
Yeah.
recognizing threats, reacting to them, fight or flight. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of ingrained in our DNA. And so yeah, marketing, whether it's a marketer or politicians or whatever, they use that to their advantage. But knowing that you can, I don't know if I hate to use the word hack, maybe, but you can, know that that's what's going on,
Yeah.
and you can retrain your brain to see things, view things in a different way. Yeah.
100%. And you are correct. Anthony Robbins is 63 years old,
Okay.
born in February. And another gentleman that we all know is Grant Cardone, around 65 years old. So
Oh wow.
really
Yeah.
powerful gentleman from the 1960s.
Very, very cool. Yeah. Love us guys that and gals that were born in the '60s. So this is
And
great. Yeah.
so as you're going through a journey, you're discovering the different ways that elevate your mindset, that's enabling others to bring their thoughts and their learned experience to the paper. You're now bringing it to the public through your newspapers, to your books, through your music, through like all the different mediums. And no wonder that you jumped in on the internet early on because it is the number one medium that you can create massive amounts of content. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
the show and the growth of your YouTube channel shows that 100%.
Yeah, well, when my first book came out, I didn't even have email. I mean, the internet
Mhm.
was a thing. It was like I'm talking about like 92, 93.
Yeah, yeah.
And I didn't get email till like 94. And so,
Mhm.
but there was a period where I was actually using old school, like direct mail, like physically, mailing things to people and building it. But I was building a list
Yeah.
of physical addresses back in the early 90s. But then when this internet came along, I said, well, I could deliver this information by email, no printing,
Mhm.
no postage, what's not to love?
Yeah.
So I dove in and started building an email list in the 90s. Um,
Amazing.
and I actually wrote a book that came out in 2001.
Mhm.
What's that? 22 years ago. It's called "Branding Yourself Online: How to Use the Internet to Become a Celebrity or are expert in your field." And I
Wow.
little did I know, I was probably the first book out about how to become an online influencer, long before that term was ever.
Check that out.
I,
We have the father of the influencer economy right
yeah,
here, Bob
yeah,
Baker.
I need to tout that a bit more. I mean, I
Amen.
don't think of it at the time as being ahead. I was just doing what kind of came naturally and sharing what I was doing, and I've seen other people doing similar things. But I guess looking back in hindsight, I kind of like to think I was a bit of a trailblazer and a pioneer in the online space.
And this is so much fun. I mean, I didn't get access to the internet till 95, 95, end of 95, because what's funny is we got our first computer in 93. I was living in Saudi Arabia and I had no clue about the internet. All I knew it, hey, this is a computer and you get to play in it or whatever. But then it
Right.
was like 1994, my dad came back from the US and he brought this discs that said America Online. I'm like, what is this America Online business? So it wasn't until 95 that I actually jumped on because I moved to the US and I had access to the internet. And I was like, that totally changed my world.
Yeah, and if people that are old enough might remember that those America Online discs were everywhere a long
Oh
time.
my
Those
God.
floppy disks.
They
Yeah,
definitely used the list that you created, the physical address list, to send those discs to literally everybody. I'm like, hey, get online. This is where the world is heading.
yeah, it's amazing. It's still around too. I guess every now and then I'll come across an AOL address and go, really? Oh, it's still there. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
that's amazing. All right, so moving on, let's jump into something that you're currently doing. So you mentioned that you're creating a lot of content, you're creating music, you're creating um, in the physical space as well as the internet. Like you're creating a ton of music because that is your passion. So I think I watched some of your videos where you're singing along and creating some positive messaging.
Yeah.
What is it that people can like? What is it that you, let's say, go deep into how you help others into realizing their potential and creating their own brand?
Sure. So, just to clarify, kind of where music sits in my life these days, it's still a part-time thing, and I do have my wife and I, in particular, since we've been collaborating for the past 15 plus years, do have a lot of our music out in the world, and there are a lot of people that love it. The primary thing that I use to reach people, though, are affirmations. They're not music; they're spoken
Mm,
word, where and they're on a variety. I have hundreds and several hundred of them on my YouTube
gotcha.
channel on a variety of topics. Abundance is a big one. Everybody wants more money in their lives, but I've got things on confidence and success and health and gratitude, and all that. So I'm speaking after I am statements like I am open and I'm ready for a new relationship with money, and I leave
Mm,
space for them to repeat them back to themselves because affirmations were one of the many tools that I've used to build my own confidence,
yeah,
outlook, and attitude. So those are the things that get the most views, and YouTube is my primary platform to do that. With
yeah.
music, though, even though years ago, decades ago, I started off writing typical rock songs about partying and girls and all that stuff. Over the past 15 years, I say, or more, I've been, and then my wife now too, we write more positive music. So it's basically taking those same affirmative messages and
Yeah.
just putting them into songs. And a lot of our choruses are specifically worded in the first person. So like it's so when people sing them, they're singing about themselves. Like there's a song I wrote called "I
Mm,
Can Do This." Like so people sing "I can do this, I can do this." So they're almost like affirmations that they sing, but they're in a song form, you know. And
that's really cool.
so yeah, so that's how those things overlap. And while some of the when I do put those out as videos and so on, but the music isn't as we're not known as much for musicians as we are for my spoken word and
Sure.
the affirmations, but they do go hand in hand. Yeah, and I think it's a good way to that if you can, the more cohesive you can be with your life, where everything kind of blends together. Like
Yeah.
my life is an open book. People always a lot of people are concerned when they go to promote themselves online. Oh, I should have my personal page and separate your personal from your work
Mm.
life. But mine's pretty much integrated. You know, my work is my life. You know, and so I share pretty much all aspects of it for the most part. You know.
No, I love that so much because when you sing, you're bringing not just the word, but you're bringing melody and the
Yeah,
rhythm aspect of it. And I think there's studies where people with Alzheimer's, the people who have some memory losses, they can remember things when music is played or when they're dancing. It's kind of crazy how the
yeah.
brain connects those things together.
Yeah, they come alive. And so yeah, and you're right. I do I wish and I'm probably gonna spend more time trying to get our music out there because when you sing the affirmations, that's not just speaking them, that adds another level of involvement,
Hmm.
emotion. And if you get up and a lot of our stuff is danceable. We actually have a whole album of like almost like electronic music dance
Oh, really?
music with these affirmative lyrics. So if you get up and move and you're
Hmm.
singing that stuff to yourself, it's really like when you add that emotion, that physicality, it's really ingraining the whatever that idea is, which is much better for you than a lot of the love gone wrong songs out crying in your beer songs that are out there.
So I have a question for you, and maybe it's a suggestion. I don't know if you're open to it, but it's
Sure.
around your music.
Mhm.
Okay. So I don't know if you've heard of streambeats.com.
I,
It's
I don't
Harris Heller launched this thing a couple years ago, and basically the one thing that musicians or YouTubers are looking for, or even live streamers are looking for, are music that they can play in the background as they're either playing a video game or they're doing a live stream. So they want to play some music, and a ton of the music is licensed, and you can't really use it, and you get flagged on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and whatnot. So Harris Heller or Stream Beats is something that he launched. He brought in about 30,000 tracks,
mm,
all unlicensed, free to use, so that you can use this tracks in your YouTube videos. So if since you're a musician already and you've got these danceable music, I'm just thinking, hey, what if you had unlicensed free music for people to use on their YouTube channels, and then you get uh, money back, or you're basically then monetizing it through Spotify and Apple Music because your music is then listed there.
yeah, I'd be certainly willing to explore that because I know having running a YouTube channel, there's a lot of copyright issues, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so like in the
Mm-hmm.
background of my affirmation spoken word stuff, I use background music that I create, so I don't,
Yeah,
yeah, because I've made mistakes early on when you get flagged and
of course,
you get dinged,
absolutely,
and I'm at the point now where I make a living with my YouTube channel, so I got to make sure that I don't jeopardize that in any. But yeah,
absolutely.
no, yeah, I'd be happy to explore that. I hadn't heard of that site. I'd be happy to look into it after our.
And just to give you a heads up, why I mentioned even is when he started. So there's even more music he has available now. But when he started, he probably spent around $30,000 to bring in musicians to then create this library of content.
Oh, cool.
He's making $200,000 a month
A month.
through royalties from Spotify and Apple Music, and I
Wow.
think Amazon Live too. So again, people who are
Yeah.
subscribed to these services are listening to this music through those platforms. And
Sounds like
because
some
he's listed as the artist,
creator. Yeah.
creator, he's getting paid through those back channel royalties. I'm
That-
like, that just blew my mind. I'm like, oh my
yeah.
God, that's freaking insane because
Oh,
he kind of solved a problem for a ton of the live streamers. So I was like, hey, you're a musician. This is probably an avenue that you can easily slip into.
Yeah, and having mentored musicians, being one myself for many years, I know, and having interviewed tons, there's just so many different ways that
Hmm.
you can monetize that. It's not just original songs,
Right.
it's streaming. It's not just playing live shows and selling merch. I mean, those are all valid things to
Oh
do.
yeah,
There's so
absolutely.
many niches and so many ways. Online communities if you have a good following. So that's
Yeah.
amazing. I have to look into that. And congratulations to him for building that business. I may have to just create a whole other separate side of music just to get into
Hey
that.
Bob, I just gave you a new project.
I know, I
Essentially.
know. Yeah, my overflowing plate just got more. All
Man,
right.
this has been a lot of fun. I mean, thank you for sharing and going deeper into how you're creating these affirmations because absolutely this is a one of the things that we need again, right? We wake up in the morning and we're putting energy out and we need that energy to reclaim. And sometimes you're just not feeling up to it. Like, hey, you know what? I need
Yeah,
some coffee. I need some Bob Baker music,
yeah.
aspirations, affirmations, so I can, get up and move. And
And that's the amazing thing. They're literally, I mean, at least tens of thousands of people. I mean, I got, like I said, there's like a million views a month, but there are people all over the world that literally wake up and listen to me every
yeah.
morning. And my most popular affirmation videos are morning affirmations in
Mm,
particular. And I love that because it's the best time. Like you want to just don't launch into your day and start reacting to things. You actually like set the tone, set an intention and an
yeah.
expectation. How do you want to feel today? How do you want things? And not everything's going to be perfect. And you're not, and I never advocate that you ignore the challenges in life. And we all still have fears and all that. And you're never going to be positive 100% of the time, but you
Right.
can increase that percentage by being intentional about how you think and how you live your life.
Yeah, man. Some of your content on YouTube I see has anywhere from 7 million to 5 million views.
Yeah,
And these are affirmations that people are listening 14 minutes, 10 minutes, not even that long. Like just
yeah,
wake up, turn it on, you're up and pumping, and you're out starting your day.
cool.
I love it, brother. All right, so let's take a quick break, and then when we get back, you can share with us 3 hacks that creators, entrepreneurs here can implement in their lives.
I got some ready to share. Looking forward to that.
Awesome. Hey guys, welcome back to the episode. We have been talking with Bob Baker, really awesome human being. He's created content for us to enjoy for the past many, many years. He's an amazing human being, and not just that, he's inviting us to think positively because it's easy to be negative. It doesn't require any energy to be negative, and there's a ton of forces that are attracted to negativity. So let's be more positive. Let's bring light to this world. I mean, we all wake up in the morning and enjoy the sunlight, and that's energy, right? It doesn't take a whole lot for you to do to not have any energy. I'm like I'm like going roundabout over here, but Bob's got 3 hacks to share. Bob, take it away.
Yeah, you bet. No, I like the way you said it about the sunlight. Yeah, and one a phrase that I like to encourage people to do is to shine your light. A lot of times we dim our light because we're just afraid of what people are going to think, or we
Yeah.
don't stand out, or whatever. But yeah, so shine your light. So yeah, my 3 hacks here, if you want to call them that, are more geared for the entrepreneurs in the audience, and because like I said, I had very humble beginnings, being raised by a single mom who did not. She worked for nonprofits, so she was always kind of scraping by and did a great job of raising me. But I know it was it's challenging for her. So I didn't really
Mm,
have any entrepreneurial role models, but there was something within me that inspired me to go for my dreams. And I don't know where that instinct came from, but I'm glad that I had it. I'm very very like DIY, do it yourself or self reliant oriented. So here are my 3 things I wanted to share. So one is this phrase that I love. It's start before you're ready. So when you
mm.
have an idea, like a lot of times people will just say, "Oh, I have this idea, but I gotta make sure I have all my ducks in a row and all the stars are aligned. I need to get a certificate, or maybe I gotta wait for the kids to graduate, or the end of the school year, or whatever." All these reasons that we have that we delay just getting started for
Yeah.
that perfect time to arrive, and that perfect time will never arrive. So I'm someone who always, when I got an idea that I was excited about, I always ask myself, how can I get engaged with this sooner rather than later? And I did this with whether it's pursuing stand-up comedy or doing music or whatever. And so it's like, you don't have to do the whole thing and have it all figured out, but take that first baby step, even if you're not fully, have no idea what the heck you're doing. Just start dipping your toe in that water and moving toward that thing that it excites you, especially while your enthusiasm is high.
Yeah.
You can decide as you go along, oh, am I still enjoying this? Because there are a lot of things that I started to pursue and then I realized, it's not really in alignment. It's not really what I thought it would be. And I stopped. But in a lot of things I kept going with publishing books, with, doing music, with doing the YouTube channel. So start before you're ready, even if it's just a baby step. Number two, kind of along with this baby step concept, is one of the keys to my success, I think, is consistency and repetition over time.
Mm.
I've had a lot of success over the years. I had modest success as an author. I got to the point where last day job I quit like 20 years ago, but I've been self-employed much of my adult life. And I never looked back. Yeah, from that, like 2004 was the last. I put in. I didn't get. It wasn't a situation where I got fired and then had to figure out how to make a living. I actually
Yeah.
put in my notice because I was making enough money from my books to be able to do that. But there was never any like one thing where I was discovered or I had this big hit and I was in the media or something. There's not one incident that like skyrocketed me. It was this consistently chipping away at it. So one thing that I think I have is this discipline to just continue to share my message online, in particular. And that consistency and that repetition. And even though my message, like what my focus on maybe has evolved, at any given time, I'm focusing on those things that that are a priority to me. In the early days, it was all music marketing stuff that I was putting out there, but that shifted over. Now it's more like affirmations and positivity with some music thrown in. But
Mm.
I'm consistently posting, if not every day, every week. And I've shared this too. I had my ideal week as far as like posting content. Like in the ideal week, I'd have this many YouTube videos and this many podcasts and these many posts on Facebook and Instagram. That's my ideal week. The truth is, I rarely hit that ideal week. I probably can count on one hand this past year when I've
Yeah.
gotten everything out, but I get close. And on those weeks where I fall short and don't have as many postings, I just give myself, I give myself some grace, and it's okay. It's good enough. But that consistency and that repetition, baby steps over time, that builds up. I think even Tony Robbins talks about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those small increments over time and how it kind of builds like compound interest.
Absolutely.
And then the third one here, this is more from a marketing perspective, like if you're creating something that you want to monetize, um, understanding the difference between wants and needs. And so I've dealt with a lot of authors over the years, and this particularly applies to authors where somebody will have this personal transformation. They've discovered whatever the key to weight loss or getting over depression or whatever it is, and they go, "Oh my God, I discovered this amazing thing. People need to hear this. People would benefit and really need to hear this." And then they go and create a book or spend a year writing a book or creating a course, and they launch it, and no one's buying it
Mm.
because there's not a want for that thing. And so before you create something, find out if there's a want for it that people are willing to pay for. They may need it, but if they're not wanting it and actively seeking it out, and again, it's a solution that they're willing to pay for,
Yeah.
you're going to struggle. And so the philosophy on this is find out what the want is that they're willing to pay for. You promote and sell the want. You
Mm.
deliver that want, but you can also slip in what they need in the process. You're just positioning it. You're delivering the message that you wanted to originally, but you're just positioning it in a way that's not in a bait and switch way, but in a genuine way that gives them what they want, but also you give them what they need at the same time.
You
So that's
you're
really helped.
delivering. You're basically delivering more than they would expect from it.
Yeah, but you're focusing on the thing that they like. The reason that I my channel has done so well
Hmm.
with affirmations is I'm blessed that I create material that people are actively searching for.
Yeah.
And so and I knowing that, having been a marketer online for many years and having this an SEO kind of way of thinking,
Mm,
I title them I'm using the words that they're using to search for that type of affirmation. I'm
gotcha.
not doing clever wording or whatever,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I put those titles in the thumbnails and all that. But people are actively searching for affirmations and morning affirmations and positive, or abundance affirmations or whatever it is. So I feed that, and I pay attention to my analytics and all that.
Of
So
course.
I'm paying attention to what people are searching for, and I make sure that I'm putting myself in a position to be discovered by people searching for those things. And
I love
so
that.
so that's really been helpful for me as well. So
Man,
there's some
those are some really powerful hacks for us to implement in our lives. Number one, you have to repeat after me.
Did you
Number,
start before you're ready.
start before you're ready. I've already made a post of it. Number
And
two,
then and then two is like the consistency and repetition over time. It's
consistency and
chipping away at
repetition.
it, not
Yep.
expecting this big, sensational being on American Idol or something to catapult your career.
Well,
And that, although if that
absolutely.
happens, great. And then understanding the difference between wants and needs.
Wants and needs. I love it. And all of those things help you to get to a place where you might have dreamed of, but it gets you there even faster because the consistency is what people start to see. And now that you have more chances of being promoted by other people, as
Mhm.
opposed to just expecting to make a one hit wonder. Like, I mean, people creating that one hit wonder had to have the experience to even create the music, right? So you have to have that repetition. And so
Oh
I
yeah,
think all of those hacks come together, give us a much more powerful chance of getting out there in the world.
awesome. Happy to share
Bob,
that.
thank you so much, man. Appreciate the three hacks you've shared. They're absolutely implementable. Let's jump into our fun questions that I'd like
It's
to
like a
ask my
lightning
guests.
round, isn't it?
Lightning round, yes. It's a combination. I mean, of sometimes we have deeper conversations just on those questions, and then other times they're quick and it all comes down to how much more we want to drill into that topic. All right, number one, exploring uncharted territories. Name a hobby you've always wanted to dive into but haven't yet, and why?
It's interesting. So there were two things that came to mind when I read that, because you gave me some of these ahead of time, but there's some surprise questions coming up. I'm looking forward to. So I'm a guitar player. I don't know if I mentioned that. So that's always been my main instrument, and I love being a guitar player. When traded
Mhm.
but if there was another instrument that I would play, I probably would have been a drummer, because I'm just very rhythmically oriented, and when I do our electronic music, I'm actually using loops, and I'm creating the drum tracks, and I
Nice.
love that. So I probably wouldn't have been I was a closet drummer. So that's one thing. And then the only other thing is, when I wouldn't ever do this now at my age, but when I was younger, even though I wasn't an athlete, I
Mm-hmm.
loved ice hockey. The St. Louis Blues are a team here in St. Louis. They actually finally won the Stanley Cup about 3 years, like 3 or 4 years ago.
Nice.
But I always thought it'd be fun to be able to play ice hockey, even though
Mm-hmm.
it's completely outside of my comfort zone. And I would hurt
Well,
myself trying it now. But
let me tell you something. I recently watched this TED Talk where this lady, Miss Wright, she works with athletes of uh, higher age group, so anywhere from 60s to 90s. And these athletes are running marathons. They're climbing mountains. And I'm like, holy smokes, how's that possible? And then she shared this cross section of the thigh muscle for a 40-year-old and a 70-year-old, both who ran, and it looked identical.
oh wow,
And I'm like, how is that possible? And she said, well, the beautiful part, our human body has 613 of these muscle groups that are literally there to give us life. So
Wow.
if you work on if you work out, like for example, I need to get back into shape. I need to start working out, lifting weights, like even minimum weight and having an active lifestyle is going to start building those muscles and wake up the stem cells to uh be more in the say, hey, we're living and not dying. It's kind of
Right.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely need to be form physically. It won't be hockey, I tell you that. My
No,
bones will take that. But that was a fantasy of mine years ago.
I love it, man. All right, next up, rewinding time. What childhood dream job did you aspire to, and how does it contrast with your current career?
Yeah. Well, I did mention that I was drawn to music and the written word and the arts, from a pretty early age. So in that regard, yeah, I'm living those childhood
I
dreams.
love
But
it.
there's another one that I was 9 years old when Apollo 11, Neil Armstrong, landed on the
Mm,
on the moon, and I was like totally fascinated by the whole Apollo program and all that
yeah.
in that era of space. So I say being an astronaut was I used to have fantasies about what it'd be like to be on the launch pad and lift off,
Mhm.
and feel all that pressure, the
The G
leaving the Earth.
forces and whatnot. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So,
love that.
so that was a childhood thing. So, but I think I did all right being a musician.
No, you absolutely did, man.
It's
I
it's
love
pretty
I love your
adventurous
success.
too.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, it's a tough world out there for musicians for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
unless you're picked up by a record label or whatnot. But again, you've done some amazing things, man. Thank you so much.
yeah, you bet.
Next up, entertainment insights from screen to life. Can you share a movie or TV show that entertains you and offers a lesson that resonates with your life or career journey?
So I thought about this one for a while, and what I kept coming back to was the TV show from the '90s, Seinfeld. I like so even though I'm into the inspiration business, another important value
Yeah.
for me, so that creativity and inspiration are two big things for me. But the third one right up there with them is humor, laughter,
Hmm.
lightheartedness. I think we take ourselves way too seriously. And
Yeah.
so that's why I do improv and I teach improv, just get people to loosen up and be creative and reconnect with that childlike fun aspect of that we can lose as we become adults. But Seinfeld was always a favorite. I just love the quirkiness of that show and their observations and the characters on there. And even though you watch them now, they're a little dated, especially
Hmm.
those huge phones that they
I know.
that they that they use. Um, it's yeah, that's I think one of my favorite shows for sure
I
because of
love
the
it, man. You
laughter.
know, what's cool is with podcasting and the recent rise of podcasting, comedy is the number one watched and listen genre in the podcasting space, especially from this research recently done by Spotify.
Oh, cool! I didn't know that. And also on my YouTube channel, every Sunday morning for almost 3 years now, my wife and I team up and we stream live. We broadcast
Mhm.
live at 10 a.m. Eastern on my YouTube channel. We play songs live and we deliver a message and we interact with people. But a regular
Nice.
segment is there. It's called Bob's Comedy Corner, where every week I'll pick a topic and basically tell a bunch of dad jokes, on that
Oh my God.
topic, and it's become
I
quite a
love it.
it's kind of a favorite with our following. So I
No,
still find a way to
people,
incorporate that and even into the YouTube channel.
I love it, man. Thank you so much. No, I can't wait to check out your comedy corner because I love comedy as well.
Cool.
Next up, imagining yourself on the silver screen. If you could embody a character from any movie, who would it be, and how does this character's journey mirror or contrast your own?
Wow. That's what the first surprise question, right?
That's a surprise one.
I don't know why it doesn't quite mirror my own, but Jimmy Stewart playing George
Mhm.
Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life. Um, Now and if you know the story, he gets to see life as in the town as if he was never born, and it was a lot worse. And he realizes the positive impact that he had on many other people. And so, in that regard, I like to think that I have this. Yeah, I'm leaving a positive legacy and influencing a lot of people.
Love
Um,
it.
and so I can relate to him in that manner. I know part of his frustration was George Bailey in that movie. He always wanted to travel and travel the world, and there was always things that kept him from doing it. So he didn't get
Mm-hmm.
to do as many things, and so he just thought his life was a failure. And then he realized, no, he had a great impact on his community. I've been able to travel, and impact people worldwide, but still, I can relate to that. I love that lesson in that movie about how we impact people in unknown ways quite often.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we should appreciate the impact that we're having. And also, that's a good lesson. And if
Mm-hmm.
there's someone who's positively influenced you, let them know, because I get
Yes.
constant feedback with comments and on YouTube and elsewhere, and when I meet people in person, and I got this constant flow of positive like reinforcement that I'm doing good in the world. But a lot of people don't hear that from others, and so if someone has positively influenced you, whether it's a teacher or parent, whatever, let them know so they can know that they're having a positive impact on you. You know.
I'm making a post right now telling people, let them know if someone has had a positive impact in your life because it helps them to do more.
Yeah, it encourages them. Yeah,
Nice.
awesome.
Next up, navigating through the world of superheroes. Who's your favorite, and is there a particular trait that possesses
Yeah. So
one of
I
them?
and that, typically I didn't grow up being a big like comic book and superhero. I didn't follow the Marvel universe. I've seen some of the movies and all that. So
Sure.
I thought about this for a while. And then I realized Superman and his alter ego Clark Kent are
Yeah.
probably the things that I can relate to the most for a number of reasons. Because Clark Kent is kind of isn't he known as the mild mannered Clark Kent, and he's a journalist, right? So he's a
Yeah.
writer, which I published that newspaper for 10 years, and I tend to be like I'm not Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, certainly those guys are like full out, energy in your face.
Sure.
I'm not. I'm a little bit more of a laid back entrepreneur. I think I
Mm-hmm.
have enthusiasm that comes through, but I'm not in your face. So a lot of people describe me as being easy to be around with, or
Mm,
easy to be with, and so casual. And so I think of myself as that Clark Kent, yet I have the ability to be Superman and do some
yeah.
amazing things in the world, too. And so I'm wearing the t-shirt and the leotards under my regular clothing, and it can be Superman at a drop of a hat when needed. So
Bob, I think one of the things that I realized about you is that Tony Robbins and Grant Cardone and these people, their performance as as Bono, right? He's a singer, so there he's performing with his voice,
right.
whereas he still needs edge. He still needs the other musicians in that band to perform to bring that whole thing together. So let's say Tony Robbins is a singer, but he still needs somebody to play that loud music in the back. So with your instruments is the powerhouse compared to Tony Robbins' voice.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, cool. Thanks for pointing that out. I love that perspective. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Next up, and the last question: if your career or personal journey was a board game, which one would it be and why?
Oh, wow. Board game. It's not going to be Monopoly. It's not going to be War. And I can't think of anything else. I'm going to say Candyland.
Candyland, yes. That is an
Sweet,
awesome game.
lighthearted, and, enjoyable. I think fun for kids, right?
Fun for kids, man. I love that so much. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, man. I love asking those questions because it invokes a totally different level of connection between us, and it's like, oh my god, Clark Kent and Superman. Absolutely. I mean, who doesn't know these people, right?
Right.
So it creates like, oh my god, Bob Baker is Clark Kent, or is he Superman?
Or
We will
both.
never know. Or both.
Yeah. Ask Jimmy Olsen, right? Or Lois Lane.
That's right. They will know. All right. Uh, okay, Bob. Well, this was a lot of fun conversation. Thank you so much again for coming on to the podcast. I'll be sure to share your links. What is the what is the number one place for people to reach you and connect with you?
So I guess it's my YouTube channel. Again, that's the most prominent platform that I have. And you can just go to YouTube when you're logged in, either to the app or your browser or whatever, and just search for my name, Bob Baker. Real quickly, it'll suggest affirmations. Just click that. You'll see my face there in the circle, and just click that, subscribe. That's probably the main place. And then the specific website where I kind of post all of these house all this kind of inspirational stuff is just my name with the word inspiration. So it's bobbakerinspiration.com is my actually website for this work. And I would
I
love to
love it.
connect
Yeah,
with any of your listeners that want to, yeah, be uplifted and inspired. So, this has been great.
absolutely.
Thanks a lot for having me. I love this conversation.
Absolutely, Bob. Thank you so much again for the conversation and the memory lane journeys. I mean, thinking about the past and how we've come so far, it has been as absolutely inspiring and as absolutely life changing. Right, we've seen the most change in technological development than anybody else in the planet. Um, Again, we'll be posting the links to your content, to your YouTube channel and your website in the show notes. And until the next episode, we'll catch you soon.